Good afternoon. Welcome to Studio One on this Thursday, February 19th. We're nearly approaching the end of a week. What's been a short week. No complaints here. I'm Tom Beering. I'll be your host. Joining us today will be Keith Berger, who's the Director of Discharge Planning Protocol for AIDS patients here in Grand Forks. He'll discuss the precautions and the types of education that are going on with the growing concern of AIDS. Also joining us will be Dr. William Dando, whose active role in Soviet agriculture has experienced him with an expertise in Soviet affairs. He'll be discussing the Soviet softening of human rights. And among things that are new here on Studio One, a new addition, our out of studio segment feature called Open Door. But first, with every edition, we go to the news desk with Lynn Shocker and Courtney Bateman. Lynn?
Thank you, Tom. If you missed the chance to cast your ballot in September, you may have another chance. North Dakota Governor George Sinner has called for a special election on March 18th to settle the dispute over proposed tax increase. The legislature passed a tax hike late last year, but a referral drive has left the state unable to collect it. The special election may be just for show, however. Attorney General Nick Spaeth has issued an opinion saying North Dakota lawmakers need only a simple majority to override any referral measure, in effect, downplaying the voters' role in the tax increase decision.
The Soviet Union has discovered a new weapon in the propaganda war: human rights. General Secretary Mikhail Gorbachev, speaking before an international peace conference in Moscow this week, said Russia's new approach to human rights is there for all to see. The change was emphasized by a recent campaign against corruption in Soviet law enforcement agencies, which resulted in the imprisonment of 2 police investigators on charges of brutality.
It's National AIDS Awareness Week, and although it's quiet on the University of North Dakota campus, students at the University of California, Berkeley are going all out. Tomorrow has been named Safe Sex Day and National Condom Day at Berkeley. Coordinator Charles Mayer says some offbeat events are planned for tomorrow, including the distribution of 3,000 condoms, a pregnant man pageant, and Pin the Condom on the Man. Mayer says the goal is to increase male involvement in family planning, reduce the rate of sexually transmitted diseases, and put a stop to unintended pregnancies. Here at UND, officials say they're waiting till spring fever hits to hold awareness activities.
And finally, North Dakota now has its own version of Chippendales. 13 men will be featured in the 1988 Dakota Men Calendar, which will be sold to raise money for farmers having economic problems. The 45 farmers who entered answered questions from 12 women judges, ranging from the farm economy to why they entered the contest. Many of the men are hoping the calendar will rid farmers of the hick image, and others say they're just proud to be farmers. Tom?
Thanks, Courtney. Lynn? We're going to take a break, but don't go away. Pam Coonan and the weather is up next, plus a whole lot more right here on Studio One.
Studio One is sponsored by J.C. Penney, located in Columbia Mall. Smarter than ever, J.C. Penney.
More and more families are moving closer and closer to our forests. That's why, if you're careless with fire when you go to the forest, you could burn a lot more than trees.
All this week on the Adult Cartoon Show, it's the great directors. You'll see dandruff that moves, worms that smell, birds that lie, real flat cats, foxy villains, nice shoes. Tweety gets his revenge, thank God. Plus, a little wiggle, a little sweat, a little spit, a little sucker. Ew, cat splat. It's scary, it's vicious, it's sneaky, it's buggy on the Adult Cartoon Show, all this week on NCTV.
Welcome back to Studio One. Still up ahead, a look at 2 issues receiving considerable attention. Dr. William Dando will discuss the recent focus on the Soviet Union, and Keith Berger probes the national and local impact of AIDS. But first, meteorologist Pam Coonan with a little bit of current weather information. Pam?
Thanks, Tom. The temperature in Grand Forks at 4 o'clock was 27 degrees, the dew point was 25, and the relative humidity was 90%. We are currently under a cloudy sky, and our winds are west-northwesterly at 5 miles per hour. Yesterday, Homestead, Florida had the nation's high temperature of 78 degrees. Massena and Watertown, New York tied for the nation's low of 11 degrees below zero. An area of low pressure was over north-central Saskatchewan, with a trough extending southeastward into northern Minnesota. This system has brought some snow to northern Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and western Ontario. An area of high pressure was over western North Dakota. Fog was widespread across North Dakota due to overnight cooling and stagnant air. Advisories for freezing drizzle were posted this morning for the southeastern and south central portions of the state, but have since been canceled. A trough extended from north central Montana to an area of low pressure in southwestern New Mexico. High pressure over the eastern portion of the nation is providing southeasterly flow in Texas, and with the higher elevations in the southern Rockies to the west, is producing upslope conditions and brought moderate snowfall to these regions. Today's high temperature was 27, and tonight in the Grand Forks area, our winds will be light and variable, and we can expect a low of near 23 degrees. We'll be back later with tomorrow's forecast. Tom?
Well, thank you, Pam. What was once a distant plague for a social minority has grown into a social concern for everyone: AIDS. Keith Berger discusses the local impact of AIDS and its precautions which are currently now being taken. Meet him next on Studio One.
Hello, and welcome to our special guest, handsomely dressed in a raincoat, a fellow who truly leads a dog's life. Meet McGruff, the crime dog.
Thanks, Dick. It may be a dog's life, but I'm helping people take a bite out of crime.
Indeed you are. Now, do I understand that neighborhood watch programs have reduced crime in some areas as much as 50%?
That's right, but there's more to be done.
Well, tell me about it, which I'm sure he will.
You bet. Make sure your neighborhood has plenty of lights. Leave one on in your house at night, and remember, light a light to stop a thief.
Shady characters prefer the dark, eh?
You got it. Also, start a volunteer escort service for older folks.
Aha, good news for the old folks at home, eh? What about the young folks?
Start McGruff houses.
Which are?
Houses kids can duck into in case of trouble.
Terrific. Anything else?
Yeah, that's a nice jacket, Dick.
Oh, thanks, McGruff. Hey, and thanks for all you're doing. For more information, write to this address and help
take a bite out of crime.
Welcome back to Studio One. It's 7 minutes past the hour. The issue of AIDS continues to heighten. Within the last 2 weeks, the primary focus has been on precaution and education of AIDS, not only to high-risk groups, but to our children. With us is Keith Berger, who's the Director of District Planning Protocol for AIDS Patients. Keith, we appreciate you taking the time and joining us. Does that concept scare you, that the focal point is now dealing with young people, with children in particular?
Well, I think that in North Dakota we're just starting to realize the real impact of AIDS and how importance of education and how it affects young people and everyone. It's becoming much more of awareness for us.
Keith, tell us about the task force that you're involved with. What is that doing for Grand Forks?
Okay. As Director of Social Work at United Hospital, we wanted to look at the total impact of what would happen if an AIDS patient came to the hospital. Not just providing the medical care, but looking at other things like patient-family education, patient-family support, looking at trying to identify what resources were available in the community. I think we found that everybody kind of felt that, well, this is a Minneapolis problem, a New York problem, or San Francisco problem, and there really wasn't anything in place. And that was one of the reasons we got together, is try to put some things together.
Do you find that the community of Grand Forks are they receptive to what's taking place?
I think they're beginning to finally realize that it's going to be a concern and a problem for us as well. I found real good support in the different agencies, like we've included the Department of Public Health, we've worked a little bit with the university, the Air Base, the Northeast Human Service Center, and I think there's people out there that really are concerned, that care, and want to be able to put together a program that'll be really of help for the patients and families.
Now, your work extends to both the physical and the psychological aspects.
Right.
What's more difficult for both the patient and the family?
Okay. Well, I think physically, people with AIDS, they do die. So you've got that to deal with. But with that, there's so many psychosocial things. A patient may come into the hospital and the family finds out not only that their child is dying, but maybe they're homosexual, maybe they were a drug user, that type of thing. So you've got so many dynamics to work with. And I think, too, that maybe in Grand Forks we're fairly conservative, and there's some, and prejudice comes into point. So I think there's so much to do in those areas. And that's what we want to do if we discharge them from the hospital, is to make sure that somebody picks up the pieces when they leave the hospital. And I was really encouraged just this last month now that the Department of Health has hired a state AIDS coordinator. And I think we're going to start to see some of the programming come together for our state and our community, which is probably going to be overdue.
I'd heard a statistic about the state of Minnesota that it was estimated that there were 20,000 Minnesota residents that had been exposed to AIDS. Few of them realize they have it. What is our status? Is our status similar in North Dakota?
I don't know if there's any real statistics, concrete statistics that are out now, but hopefully now I think the State Health Department is going to start addressing some of those issues, and I know that there's been figures that the high-risk groups, that probably 6% of the population is homosexual. I think we've been in the dark in Grand Forks to think that even homosexuality doesn't exist, nonetheless AIDS. And we do have some high-risk groups in North Dakota, so I'm sure the numbers are going to be there, and I think it's just a matter of time till we start seeing these people on our doorsteps.
Keith, what's the greatest myth about AIDS?
I think the greatest myth about AIDS is how it's contracted, how you get it. I think that a lot of people, you hear about things in the paper, well, should we let the school child attend school with AIDS, should we do this or that? I think there's a lot of fear of the unknown. And I think that's a big job we have to do in Grand Forks, in our communities, is educate what AIDS is. I can imagine if the employer finds out that one of their employees has AIDS, there could be a lot of discrimination. I don't want you working here, a lot of fears. And so I think the biggest problem is just lack of some real information, and I think that the thing we have to do now is really do some education, get some people in that know the facts, and I think the State Health Department, that's going to be one of their primary goals.
If people need more information, we want to thank you for joining us. If people do have more information, where can they get more information?
Okay. Well, right in Grand Forks, one place to start would be the city and county public health. They're really involved in the process now. That would be one place, or I could be contacted at the hospital too.
Okay. Keith Berger, we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Keith Berger, Director of the Discharge Planning Protocol for AIDS Patients. Studio One continues after this.
Guess where Bill is?
Blue chip Bill? Gotta be Wall Street.
No, he joined the Peace Corps.
I thought that went out with the 60s.
Peace Corps. It's creating food systems in Africa, turning deserts back into forests, and fighting malaria in Asia. It's hands-on and hats off. It's making a friend. It's been tough, but for 25 years, the Peace Corps has been making a difference in the world.
Bill, I can't believe it.
Peace Corps, the toughest job you'll ever love.
Do you like music?
I do like music. Very much.
Pick something groovy, Alex.
Don't be a fool, Alex. Pick Audiophilia, the best concert show around. Every week, a new concert. Motown, rock, new music, folk, funk, and a whole lot more. Audiophilia, every week on NCTV.
Swell.
It's 14 minutes past the hour. Now here's a sure sign that spring is right around the corner. The Minnesota Twins open up spring training camp today. Pitchers and catchers will report in balmy Orlando. Now doesn't that sound good? It couldn't be any more appropriate then that Studio One's Open Door segment asks the running question of America's favorite pastime. Who's on first?
How do you like my ball club, Lou? Hey, all those people going to be at the game today?
Certainly.
Oh, this is going to be a whopper of a game.
Well, it should be.
Hey, Abbot, I understand they made you the manager of this here Colgate team.
Why not?
So you're the manager?
I'm the manager.
Well, you know, I'd like to know some of the guys' names on the team, so when I meet them on the street or in the ballpark, I'll be able to say hello to those people.
Why, sure, I'll introduce you to the boys. They give them funny names, though, Lou.
Oh, I know they give those ball players awful funny names.
Let's see, on the team we have who's on first, what's on second, I don't know who's on third.
You the manager?
Yes.
You know the guys' names?
I should.
Well, then tell me the guys' names.
I say who's on first, what's on second, I don't know who's on third.
You the manager?
And then yes.
You know the guys' names?
I'm telling you their names.
Well, who's on first?
Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who?
The guy playing first base.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who is on first?
What are you asking me for? I'm asking you.
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you.
You ain't telling me nothing. I'm asking you who's on first.
That's it.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
Who?
The guy on first base.
That's his name.
That's whose name?
Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
That's the man's name.
That's whose name?
Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
Who is on first?
What are you asking me for? I'm asking you who's on first.
That's it.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
Who?
The guy on first.
That's it.
What's the guy's name on first?
No, what's on second?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
That's what I'm asking you.
Now,
Who's
wait a
on
minute,
first?
Joe, don't change the play.
I'm not changing nobody. I asked you a simple question. What's the guy's name on first base?
What's the guy's name on second base?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who is on first?
I don't know.
He's on third. Now, we're not talking about him.
Look, you got a first baseman?
Yes.
Then tell me the fella's name playing first.
Who?
The guy playing first.
That's his name.
Wait, what's the guy's name on first base?
Why, there's the guy's name on second base.
Who's playing second?
Who's playing first?
I don't know.
He's on third base. What's the matter with you? Can't you...
Look, when you pay off the first baseman every month, who do you pay the money to?
Every dollar.
Yeah. Look, you got to pay the money to somebody on first base, don't you? Does he give you a receipt?
Sure.
How does he sign the receipt?
Who?
The guy that you give the money to.
Who?
The guy you give the money to.
That's how he signs.
That's how who signs it?
Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
That's it.
That's who?
Yeah.
When you give the guy the money, don't he have to sign a receipt?
He does, Lou.
Well, how does he sign his name?
Who?
The guy you give the... You dope!
Now, take it easy.
You just don't give money to somebody without him giving you a receipt?
So who signs it?
What are you asking me?
Now, I'm not asking you. I'm telling you.
Well, go ahead, tell me. What's the guy's name that signs the receipt on first base?
Wait a minute. What signs his own receipt?
Who signs his own receipt?
No, who signs his?
I'm asking you, when the guy on first base gives you a piece of paper,
Yes, now
he
wait.
puts his name on it.
So who puts his name on it? What puts
How
his name?
does the fella's name on first base look to you when he signs his name?
Who?
To you.
That's how he looks.
How does it look to you?
Who?
To you.
Who?
To you.
Who? Look,
When the guy signs his name, how does it look to you?
look, that's how it looks.
Who?
Who?
I'm asking you, what's the guy's name on first base you give the money to?
Who? After all, the man's entitled to it.
Who is?
Yes. Sometimes his wife comes down and collects it.
Whose wife?
Yeah, sure.
All I'm trying to find out is what's the guy's name on first base?
Well, he's on second base.
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know.
He's
Third
on
base.
first.
I know that. You got an outfield?
Sure.
The left fielder's name.
Why?
I just thought I'd ask you.
Well, I just thought I'd tell you.
The left fielder's name.
Why?
Because.
Oh, the center field. You know these players as well.
All I'm trying to find out is what's the guy's name in left field.
Now, what is on
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know. Third base. You got a pitcher on the team.
Wouldn't this be a fine team without a pitcher?
The pitcher's name.
Tomorrow?
You don't want to tell me the date?
I'm telling you, Lou.
Then go ahead.
Tomorrow.
What time?
What time what?
What time tomorrow you got to tell me who's pitching?
Now, listen. Who is
I'll
not...
break your arm, you say who's on first. I want to know what's the pitcher's name.
What's on second?
I don't know. Third base. You got a catcher?
Sure.
The catcher's name.
Today.
Today. You don't want to tell me today, tomorrow, do you?
I'm telling you.
So the catcher's name.
Today.
Today, and tomorrow's pitching.
Now you've got it.
Now I got it.
Boy, I got it. Now,
All we got is a couple of days on the
well,
team.
I can't help that.
All right, you know, now I'm a good catcher. Now I get behind a plate, and tomorrow's pitching on my team, and a heavy hitter gets up.
Yes.
Now when he gets up, me being a good catcher, I'm going to throw the guy out at first base. So the guy bunts the ball. I pick up the ball. I'm going to throw the guy out at first base, so I pick up the ball and throw it to who?
Now, that's the first thing you've said right.
I don't even know what I'm talking about.
But that's all you have.
That's all I do is throw the ball to first base. Now who's got it?
Naturally. Now you've got it.
If I throw the ball to first base, somebody's got to get the ball. Now who's got it?
Naturally.
Who?
Naturally.
Naturally?
Naturally.
So I pick up the ball and I throw it to Naturally.
No.
He gets the ball. Naturally gets the ball and
You throw the ball to first base.
Then who gets it?
Naturally.
So I pick up the ball and I throw it to Naturally.
No.
Naturally
No.
gets the ball and
You throw the ball to who?
Naturally.
Naturally.
That's what I'm saying.
You're not saying it that way.
I said I throw the ball to Naturally.
No, you don't.
I throw it to who?
Naturally.
That's what I'm saying. I throw the ball to first base, somebody's got to get it.
So who gets it?
Naturally.
That's it.
Okay. Now I ask you, who
Right.
gets it?
Naturally.
Same as you.
No, it's not.
I throw the ball to Naturally.
You throw the ball to who?
Then who gets it?
Naturally.
He better get it. So I throw the ball to first base.
All
Whoever it is drops the ball, and the guy runs to second. Now, who picks up the ball and throws it to what?
Yeah.
What throws it to I don't know. I don't know, throws it back to tomorrow. Triple play.
Could be.
And now that guy gets up and hits a long fly ball to be called.
Yes.
Why? I don't know. He's on third, and I don't give a darn.
What'd you say?
I said I don't give a darn.
Oh, that's our shortstop.
Abbot and Costello with Who's On First. We know who's on top when it comes to collegiate hockey. The Fighting Sioux are out playing in Marquette, Michigan this weekend against Northern Michigan, closing up their 86-87 schedule. They'll be back at the Winter Sports Center next weekend with the first round of WCHA playoff hockey. From the games people play to the games nations play. It's not unusual that the Soviet Union should stimulate some kind of controversy, but this time they have done so favorably, so it seems. We'll hear from Dr. William Dando, expert on and in many ways ambassador to the Soviet Union. He'll join us next on Studio One. It's 21 minutes past the hour. Talk about getting mixed signals. Just within this last week, the leader of the Soviet Union, Mikhail Gorbachev, announced before an international peace forum on Monday that the Soviets are changing their approach to human rights. All the while this is going on, ABC is holding a mini-series called America, which depicts the life of America under Soviet occupation. What is unclear is what perception do we believe? Dr. William Dando is a director of Soviet Agricultural Research Department. He also heads the largest department dedicated to Soviet geography in the nation. As a result, he's made, well, I would assume new means to a frequent flyer, 35 to 40 trips to the Soviet Union, sent by the State Department, by the U.S. government, through research grants, and as well as a university professor. When we watch a depiction of America and we get hard news, international news, that the superpower, the Soviet Union, is concerned about human rights, as an unbiased voice, who do we listen to?
Well, I think that the Soviet Union has deep internal problems. I think that we in America don't realize how complex that system is, and we don't realize how sick the system is. I think that for the first time in the history of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, you have an individual who was not a revolutionary, an individual who never fought in a war, an individual who's never suffered famine or hunger or starvation, and a person who had problems buying a football, a soccer ball as a kid, a fishing rod, and a bicycle. You have an individual who's looking for something a little bit different, and he knows there's problems. The Soviet Union, if it were to continue as it is today, will probably collapse, and he knows it. So he's got to do something to enhance the quality of life within the system. He's got to do something from on top. If you study Soviet history or the history of the Communist Party, you'll discover that almost all the decisions to modify or improve or do something within the system comes from the top. And he's working from the top. Now he's got problems, because there are individuals who don't want change. There are people who would prefer that the system remained as it is. They like things safe in their life. Well, many people who prefer things safe have no progress. And in that system, when you're safe, why, you could lose the whole system.
Are they sympathetic? Are they obligated, or are they sympathetic towards human rights?
I think that, well, they have a very beautiful constitution that doesn't mean much. Their constitution, when you read it, is, oh, it's just so very special. It's molded after ours. But they have never really followed the constitution. I believe Stalin killed 40 million people. Khrushchev was the man in charge of constructing the Moscow subway, the first use of slave labor, 127,000 people in the Soviet Union. Brezhnev's history and his background was poor. Andropov, my golly, he was a, we might say, a secret agent man. So they don't have strong backgrounds or histories of caring for individuals. But this man is different, I believe. He's their Kennedy. His wife is their Jacqueline. He represents New Hope. I believe that Marxism is dead within the system. They're looking for something to hold the country together. They saw what happened in Czechoslovakia, in Poland. They saw what happened in even East Germany, and perhaps in other areas of the world where the industrial proletariat revolted or rioted against the system. The industrial proletariat are communist. So you had communists revolting against communists. He knows he's got to give them something. He's got to give the urban workers something for their labor. He's got to give them the opportunity to spend their money on something of value.
So should we be hopeful?
I think so. I think if he survives. Because Andropov was shot. Whenever Stalin died and Khrushchev was trying to assume power, why, there were people killed. It's hard to tell what might happen with this man. He's moving too fast. I was in China whenever China had a transformation. We had a president who recognized that something could be done there, and something was done. They changed the whole system. I was in rural China when the communes disappeared. People got their land back. There was so much zeal, spirit, nationalism, pride in their work. I think that the Chinese experiment worked. Now, in the Soviet Union today, we have an individual who's trying to do something the same way. But I think he has more constraints.
Dr. William Dando, appreciate your time on the Soviet Union. Dr. William Dando is the director of the Soviet Agriculture Research Department. Studio One continues after this.
How does this man consistently draw 2,000 students a year to New York's most talked about film class? How does he attract the finest creative talent in the film world? Guests like Woody Allen, Robert De Niro, Martin Scorsese, Dustin Hoffman, Deborah Winger, William Hurt, Steven Spielberg, Robin Williams, Robert Redford, Shirley MacLaine, just to name a few? Why do his students describe him as brilliant, charismatic, and his class provocative, inspiring, exhilarating? Find out for yourself. Richard Brown's Screening Room, a whole new way to look at movies. Watch it on NCTV.
Children believe what their parents tell them.
You're pathetic. You can't do anything right.
You disgust me. Just shut up.
You can't be my kid.
You're worthless.
Hey, stupid, don't you know how to listen?
You're never going to amount to anything.
Why don't you go find some other place to live?
Words hit as hard as a fist. Stop and listen to what you're saying. You might not believe your ears.
I wish you were never born.
Take time out. Don't take it out on your kid.
It's 27 minutes past the hour. A reminder that men's and women's basketball will be at the Hislop Sports Center on Friday. The Fighting Sioux host the University of Nebraska, Omaha. Tip-off for the women is at 5:30, men's at 7:30. Also, the Grand Forks Children's Symphony will be performing at the Fritz tomorrow night. That's open and free to the public, and that's at 7:30. All that if you're looking forward to something to do this weekend. And Pam Coonan's waiting for a little bit of weather. Pam, how are we looking?
Not too bad. This is how our surface map is going to look at 6 a.m. tomorrow. An area of low pressure will be over eastern Manitoba with the trough extending southwestward through North Dakota and western South Dakota. The winds will be southwesterly at 5 to 10 miles per hour. However, when the trough passes the Grand Forks area near 10 a.m., the winds will become more northwesterly at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Temperatures in the western part of the state will reach to the mid to upper 20s, and in Minnesota, temps will reach the mid to lower 40s. Here in Grand Forks, we can expect to have a cloudy sky and a high temperature near 33 degrees. There's a chance that we will receive some light snow or freezing drizzle during the day also tomorrow. And the weekend looks to be about the same. Tom?
Thank you, Pam. Just a reminder on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, the 24th, 2 concerts in town in Grand Forks. John Schneider, now this has been a change from an April date. John Schneider will be coming to the Fritz Tuesday. He'll be performing at 8:15. We've been told that there are so-so seats left in the balcony. That's about it. Over at the Hislop the same evening, 38 Special will be performing at the Hislop Sports Center. Plenty of seats available. We want to thank our guest, Dr. William Dando. Thank our guest, Keith Berger, for joining us. From all of us here at Studio One, thanks for joining us. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you next week.